Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Tyler. This is my tabletop. Today we're going to be painting a giant. This is Duncan Shadow's Gargant, pose number 1, I believe. We're going to paint it like a Games Workshop Gargant, so our paint list is kind of long. Most of these are Citadel. We have Grey Seer, Wraithbone, Wildwood, Dark Oath Flesh, Flayed One Flesh, Baneblade Brown, Black Templar, Storm Vermin Fur, Administratum Grey, Mechanus Standard Grey, Gorthor Brown, Skeleton Horde, Caliban Green, Castilian Green, Agrax Earthshade, and then Vallejo White and Vallejo Black. I'm more or less following the contrast method found on GW's website. I just went to the Man Crusher Gargants, which is what these are going to proxy. And I'm more or less following along with that. So what we're doing is I'm going to paint the whole, all of the skin and the pants of the entire giant in Wraithbone. We're going to give it 2 coats of Wraithbone all over, except for like the metal bits and stuff like that. And then we're going to start using the contrast paints. If you've never worked with Citadel's contrast paints, they are very nice. They are expensive, but oh man, they save so much time. Seriously, I painted this entire model, which stands, 16 to 17 centimeters tall or something like that. It's a big model. It's probably one of the biggest minis I've painted, certainly recently. I painted this entire thing all the way to table ready in, 2 hours? 3 hours? Something like that. And that's raw video footage, so. Alright, I'm gonna way speed this up, because in terms of video, this is the longest part, the 2 coats of Wraithbone. So I'm gonna speed this up and listen to music. All right, and this is pretty much going to wrap us up with step one. Um, like I said in the beginning, we are using a lot of paints, but honestly, this goes really fast. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull out the contrast paints, and we're going to hit all of the skin with Dark Oath Flesh. Just give it a single coat, hit everything. The only thing you'll notice later that I wind up having to do a correction. There's a hole in his pants that should go all the way through to his skin. I accidentally wind up painting it the pants color, so later on you'll see me go back and fill in the hole with skin tone again. But anyway, so we're gonna hit all of the skin with Dark Oath, nice and easy, and then we're gonna hit the pants with Wildwood, which is another contrast paint, much darker. So that is the next step. And then we're going to base coat the handle of the club with Gorthor Brown. And I'm using Gorthor Brown because it's one of the browns I have. No particular reason to use that color versus another color. If you want your wood look different, be my guest. Okay, so now we're painting the handle, like I said. Sorry, this one is a little dark. I think I forgot to turn on one of the lights. Um, I'm also trying a different approach with the camera. So I've been using a little, like a on-table tripod and uh, my cell phone because my cell phone has auto focus, which I thought was very important. However, I kind of don't like the autofocus. I've become not happy with it. So I got out the camcorder and the big tripod. I also bought another light. Uh, so before the table-mounted tripod obviously was coming more or less from the side, uh, over to my right-hand side, looking across the table. Now the camcorder is over my shoulder, over my right shoulder, which is my dominant shoulder, slightly zoomed in. Um, it's it it helped. It I think it helped me keep the objects in focus because I don't know, it just felt more natural that I knew exactly. Like, I've had a little bit of trouble with uh, where my hands are in relation to the camera, where I'm trying to keep my hands both in camera, in the eye of the camera, and also uh, where I can see the model and mess with the model. So I feel like this is better. I don't know. If it's not better, let me know. But I feel like this is better and it helps my workflow a little bit. So I'm gonna try this out. Anyway, uh, so um, what you saw while I was talking, rambling on, was I didn't prime, but I based the metal, his arm guards, in Gray Seer. And then I hit the cloth bits, not the pants, but the cloth, in Skeleton Horde contrast. Just another contrast paint. And now I'm hitting the belt. I wanted a different color. I know I've been saying the word contrast a lot, but I wanted a contrast color. So I used Caliban green, um, just to give it some color. So the next step is going to be another contrast paint. We're going to hit the metal, his arm guards, in Black Templar, which is another contrast paint. This one's more or less black. Um, these are not metal, so if you look at like GW's contrast methods, I'm not following the gunmetal, I'm following the dirty black for these. So it's Grey Seer, then Black Templar, then Storm Vermin, then Administratum. So we are on the Black Templar portion. So things are starting to go fast because the body is mostly done. All it needs is a dry brush. But I mean, really, you could stop with the body right now. It would be acceptable. So once we finish the metal, I'm hitting it's hard to tell because the color is almost the same as my primer. But I hit the stone with, what's it called? Mechanicus Standard Gray. And it is really close. The primer that I used is Krylon or whatever the brand name, my local brand name. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Rust-Oleum, and it's Rust-Oleum Gray primer. It's designed for plastic. It worked really well. So now what you're seeing in 8 times time acceleration is I'm hitting the club handle with Agrax Earthshade. I don't have a brown contrast, so Agrax works fine. It's a shading. It works plenty fine. So now we're gonna dry brush Flayed One Flesh on the skin, and it's I'm kind of bad at dry brushing. I do it. It's pretty wet dry brush, but it turns out well anyway. For some things, it doesn't look super good, but this looks really good. His skin looks blotchy. I really like it. So give it a dry brush. I actually went over it twice in quick succession because dry brushes dry pretty much as quick as you want. And then we're going to dry brush Baneblade Brown on the pants. Same process. I try to avoid the cloth bits that we did with Skeleton Horde. Those are not getting touched up at all. They're just supposed to be dirty pieces of cloth. And then we're going to hit the belt. Once again, I don't have a contrast paint or anything like that. I don't even really have a good shade for the belt. So what I did is I pulled out my Castilian green, and I did an edge highlight with it. This is where I'm fixing the leg hole where it should be flesh tone. So fix it with Wraithbone, and then I'll go back over it with Dark Oath. But you can see me pulling out I'm going around the belt, just hitting the edges a little bit. It's sloppy, but it's okay. And this, except for the correction to the leg hole, obviously, and the teeth and the eyes, this is going to finish the body. Just really simple. Oh man, it went together fast. So once we finish the belt, so there's two kinds of material holding the stone onto the handle. There's the cloth-looking stuff, the wider stuff, and then there's what look like ropes. And I wanted those to be different colors, so I waited, and now I'm hitting that with Gorthor Brown, once again, because that's the brown I have. And then I'll just, I thought about it for a little bit. As to which contrast paint I was going to hit it with, because that was the goal. I'm just going to put a bit, that's the fantastic thing about these contrast paints, is you can get a different effect based on which base you put it on. So with this brown, I thought about it for a little bit. I wound up going with Dark Oath, but we'll get there in a minute. So once I paint the ropes, we're going to circle back to the bracers. That's what they're called, I think. I'm a LARPer, I should know this. I think it's bracers. The metal things on his arms. We're going to dry brush those with Storm Vermin. Like I said, I'm following the Dirty Black. Is that what it's called? Let me pull that up. Dirty Black is what it's called on the GW website. So dry brush, Storm Vermin, really quick. And then we're going to dry brush the stone with Administratum Gray. And the reason I'm using Administratum is that is also the final dry brush for the metal as well, and so that'll tie the colors together. So, a downside, like, I mean, I've got, what, 15? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. Yes, I have 15 paints on here. Or 16 paints. 17. Yes, 17 paints. That's kind of a lot, and the model doesn't get super unified. Now, I am using earth tones for everything, so that kind of helps, but generally, the fewer colors you use, the better. Or you want to use you want to use colors over and over again to tie things together. So using the Administratum Gray for the dry brush on the rock and on the metal helps bring things together using the wraith bone as the base for the pants, and the skin ties things together. And I'm using the same contrast paints over and over again. Mostly because I don't have that many contrast paints because it's kind of expensive. But anyway, so you saw me put the Dark Oath flesh on the rope. So now I am putting some Vallejo white on the teeth and the one open eye. He's got his other eye closed. And now I'm hitting the metal with its last dry brush, the Administratum Gray. And once the eyes dry, I just put a dot of Gorthor Brown as the iris, and a dot of black in the center of that. For the teeth, I put skeleton. I used my Skeleton Horde contrast paint. It's designed for bone, so his teeth look really nasty, which is exactly what I wanted. I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah, here I am putting the dot, the iris in, and dyeing the teeth yellow, bone yellow, I guess, and a little dot of black. My last. I didn't write this down. I took the. What was it? It was the skin tone. What was the last skin tone I used? Flayed One Flesh. I took Flayed One Flesh and painted his nails. So it's not dry brushed, so it's a much cleaner coloring. And I kind of like the effect. Kind of makes them stand out a little bit more without looking like I painted the nails. So that's it. We're gonna glue it together and put it on the turntable. Overall, this is a fantastic model. I got it from Duncan Shadow. I'll post a link in the description. I'm getting back into Age of Sigmar. My buddy wanted to play Seraphim, and I don't want to spend too much money. So I'm playing. What is this called? The Gargants. It'll wind up being like 12 models. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the change I did to the recording and that type of stuff, let me know. If you like it, like, share, and subscribe, all that fun stuff.